Tuperos y tuperas, today on DOOP by the River. We have a match to talk about. We have our last double match week here. We're going to preview what happened in Toronto against TFC, and then we're going to also look ahead of this upcoming Sunday, Halloween night. The Philadelphia Union will close out the regular season at the Soup against FC Cincinnati. And don't you dare go anywhere, guys, because you do not want to miss this episode of DOOP by the River. And let's get this started, guys. Done it! And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to DOOP by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, and we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into this episode, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget we broadcast live on El Parcero Philly YouTube channel as well as the Philly Sports Network YouTube channel as well. This is a pre-recording, but we usually do put these lives on those channels. So make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe for all the future DOOP by the River episodes. And of course, if you can't watch it live, no worries. We always put these on every streaming site. It's part of the PSN Radio, and you can find PSN Radio anywhere you stream podcasts from Apple, Google, and Spotify. And all your favorite PSN podcasts are on there as well. So definitely give that a check out. It's just me and my man Justin back. That I guess I'll say it. That ass truck up, Jay. That money truck up, Jay. I guess we were saying Friedberg. Justin, what's going on, man? How you feeling, brother, on this beautiful Friday?
Beautiful is an operative word. It's a little cloudy, a little rainy out, but nah, man, it's Friday. We're talking some Union. Let's get down to it, man, because boy howdy, do we got a lot to talk about.
I know Justin's excited after some of the talk today on we were pretty active in our group chat today for DOOP by the River. I wish we could show you guys all that. Obviously, we have group chat etiquette, ladies and gentlemen. We won't be spoiling that out there, but we do have some stuff that we do definitely want to talk about. We do appreciate you guys tuning on in. So Justin, like you said, let's get right into it. Let's start off by talking about Wednesday's match. Wednesday night in Toronto. And by the way, Justin, what a crazy night in the MLS in general. All these wacky score lines all over the league. And then there was the Philadelphia Union against Toronto C. A lot of us, we heard us in the preview. We talked about how we expected this team to walk in there with a win. It could be closer than some of us may anticipate. But what we saw, I don't think any of us kind of expected. We started off perfectly. First minute, Daniel Gazdak finds a wide open Alejandro Bedoya. Again, that Toronto FC back line, we talked about in the preview, not as strong, and we definitely took advantage on that first goal. Ali was able to rip one into net. It was great. 1-0 in the first minute. That's the best way to start it, right? But the tough part about soccer is trying to hold up a lead, and the Union had troubles on the night. As the first half was winding down, Toronto FC started getting momentum, started gaining possession, started getting some opportunities, but we went into the first half with the lead. Going into the second half, we saw the substitution. It's an important one. Gazdak gets subbed out. Sergio Santos comes in. 66th minute, Josie Altidore finds a little early Christmas gift by the Philadelphia Union. It's a turnover that was created by Kasper Shabilko, started by Kasper Shabilko. Ellie tried to clear, but it just hit off a Toronto FC attacker, found Josie Altidore. Josie just curls it right by Matt Freese. Not much Freese can do there. And TFC tie it up. And then worst thing possible, 4 minutes later, literally 4 minutes later, off a TFC cross, Jack Elliott uncharacteristically gets an own goal, and he was definitely frustrated. You could see it on his face. That, again, it's very uncharacteristic of Jack Elliott, who came off one of his best matches of the season against Nashville. Super unfortunate. 77th minute, Sergio Santos heads a beautiful ball in from a Kai Wagner cross to tie it up. Obviously, everyone's going to want to talk about the 88th minute, the controversy, and it was definitely controversial. Jamiro Montero makes a beautiful run into the center of the pitch in the final third, finds Kasper Shabilko. Kasper gets a quick shot off, and as clear as day, you can notice that there was a handball by Mr. Michael Bradley. The referees, however, did not bring his eye contacts, and unfortunately, we did miss an opportunity there, and the match would end 2-2, a very disappointing draw. It's crazy in soccer. You have those draws that feel like wins. You have those draws that feel like losses, and this truly felt like a draw that felt like a loss. With that loss, however, Nashville's able to jump over you into second place again after they had a wacky game in Cincinnati, down 3-1, came back and won that game 5-3. Super unfortunate result here, but it is what it is. But the most important stat here, Justin, I think, is you're starting to notice a trend that the Union have been struggling all season long on the road. 5, 8, and 6, 5 wins, 8 draws, 6 losses on the road. As of late, they've definitely been struggling as well. A little bit of a concern, but again, they struggled on the road. Justin, what did you see on Wednesday night? What was your biggest takeaways? How frustrated were you after that one, my man?
I'll start with, is it a little disappointing? Yes. Especially considering the controversy with the handball. You know, everyone came out and said, oh, well, it hit off of Bradley's hip, and then his hand is, his hand was still pretty extended when it hit, so seems like it should have at least gotten a look. Didn't. And Jim at his press conference today definitely, like, no one asked him about it because no one knew it seemed it was a sore subject, and Jim even kind of said, I'm surprised no one asked me about it because I got some things to say. I mean, essentially, I think the reporters were helping save Jim a fine, because there would have been some choice words. But
Jim definitely doesn't care, man.
Yeah, in reality, listen, a road point is better than most. I know people don't like to hear that, but statistically in the MLS, road form is bad. Like, road form is just bad across the league over the last few years, and going back, road form is just bad for all teams. Like, you get your points at home, and then you want to get at least a draw on the road. It's kind of how team not going to say it, but that's how they operate. Now, in this game, I really have to point at 2 players I think did not help themselves. One is not really, some of it's not really his fault, but I think he didn't shower himself in glory, was Jack Elliott. I said this in our chat. It wasn't his best game. I know the first one, he's just like, he's trying, but it seemed like a panicked clear. It felt like he could have at least attempted to play. Like, I mean, he just went full bore on that thing and tried to blast it. And I don't necessarily think that was the smartest choice in that specific instance. Now, the own goal, people want to play, but like, Josie was there for a tap in. That was a goal going to happen, I think, regardless. It just essentially, you cut out the middleman, and Josie would have been there for a tap, and it would have been a brace for him. It would have, no doubt in my mind, he was wide open on the back post. And then Kasper Shibilko, like, for all the stuff I give to him about, how he would be great to have another partner, how, like, was it the stat that he essentially scores once every like 2.5 games, which, if you really think about it, it's actually not a bad score line. I think people don't understand that, like, a one in every 3 for a striker is actually pretty good, if all things considered. But Kasper definitely didn't have his best game. There were definitely a few chances. The one I think of where he hit the top of the crossbar, it was just like, even with the volley, you could have gotten over that, and he could have hit that thing into the ground, and Westberg would have had no shot. Right. And even the announcers went, "Yeah, you hit that thing into the ground. That's a goal." Like, there's no doubt about it. And like, I'm a little frustrated, but at the same time, you're still within 2 points of Nashville. Nashville has a history of drawing. And you win, they draw, you're back in second place. Like, listen, as long as you're top 4, you're guaranteed a home playoff game. Now, if you're second or third, there's a pretty good chance you have home playoffs until the Eastern Conference Finals, assuming that New England gets all the way there. So I think people have to, while, yes, Kasper didn't have himself a great game, and we can talk about that ad nauseum, I think also you have to look at it and go, well, you're still top four, and really the way the Union have been playing, it doesn't feel like they're going to slip out of top four.
I agree, man. I agree with that point. Listen, it's tough. A lot of people don't realize, especially like the like casual or not casual, but like the worldwide soccer fan. Like, in England, right? Just for an example, Chelsea traveling to Arsenal is like what, like an hour? Or no, it's like 30-minute bus ride with traffic. Here, we have to go to the West Coast. It takes like 8 hour flights. There's some long, strenuous traveling that goes on within this league, and it makes it really difficult for away teams. But I will say, Wednesday should have definitely been a win. But what I really do notice is that the defense kind of flutters on the road. As of late, that's kind of what I've seen. I mean, obviously Elliott had an uncharacteristic game. That does happen in a regular season, especially when you're playing as many games as you are. But even in Bizo, defensively, I don't feel like he had a strong game either. His if you look at his ratings throughout the whole team, he had one of the weaker ones. Defensively, he can be a liability at times, but overall, like I just feel like the Union kind of took the foot off the gas pedal. Like you had that first goal, like go get you that second one. It just kind of felt like they didn't play with that same intensity that they did. My concern is, let's say it does stay like this, and you are the third seed, and you have to probably face off against New England. How are you going to fare going up to Foxborough? It's going to be nasty. If you're talking about playoff time, it's going to be nasty up there. It's going to be cold. It might be rainy, wet, whatever. And those are circumstances you have to deal with. So, you have one more away game, and I'm sure that's going to be a game. Hopefully, that doesn't really matter. Hopefully we can probably lock it up this upcoming Sunday, but it is definitely a little bit of a concern. But let's talk about what you just discussed, Justin. There's been a lot of talk about Kasper Shibilko as of late. Now, last night we had the CONCACAF Champions League finals, and we want to say congratulations to Monterrey. That's obviously not an easy result there, and they got the dub, they got the championship, and results. Kasper Shibilko won the Golden Boot for Champions League. He was the leading goal scorer for the tournament, and it stayed like that even after the championship. That's obviously a great reward. We didn't win the Champions League, but having Kasper get that nod is pretty special. Obviously, the joke is it obviously ups his value, right? But for me, when it comes to Kasper, look, here's the best way to paint it. He obviously won the Golden Boot, right? Where were those goals against Club America? I know Club America is Club America, but just think about if he would have just gotten that goal in the first minute or the first couple minutes of that Club America game, it would have that series would have been a different story. At times, I do feel like Kasper does disappear. I do notice that he's not the quickest, even with his reaction times. He's not even the quickest against Toronto. My question is, as a 9, especially when you're playing this Christmas tree, why is Kasper playing so far back in defense? Like he was at the back line. I just couldn't understand why he was playing so deep. Obviously, the first goal, that was kind of because Kasper turned the ball over that deep, and I just didn't understand why he was playing so deep so often in that match. And it's just a lot of times I just feel like he's in the wrong place sometimes, and obviously the delay reactions have been there as well. And it just, for me, look, I'm at the point right now where it's do or die for Kasper in these playoffs. This is now his third year with the Union. This is where I'm at personally. If he doesn't deliver within these playoffs, I think it's time to move on. I'll take whatever I can. I'll get the two. If it's $2 million for Kasper, obviously Kasper's upped his at value right now, especially with this Golden Boot. I'm willing to move on. I'm willing to get the striker. I know you have a different take on it, but that's just how I feel about Kasper right now. What is your thoughts on Mr. Shibilko?
Listen, he's the prototypical example of getting someone for literally next to nothing. I mean, he was a free transfer. He was Ernst Tanner's first signing, and his market value at the time was around $385,000. Now, I took a look this morning at his transfer value. His most recent transfer value is $2.2 million.
Wow.
Which, with the few seasons he's had here, he's had what? He's out now at least. It was 15 goals a couple seasons ago, about 10 last year, and about 12 or 13 this year. I think that's about consistent growth in terms of value. Do I think they get rid of him next season? I don't think it's time. I don't think the issue is him. I think the problem is you're having to play him. He's a hold up striker. He's a hold up striker. He's great at holding the ball up and distributing. Now, unfortunately, he has to come way back to distribute because the Union don't seem to be able to get that ball quicker out. So he's having to drop in. So that's how that first goal happens. And it's a shame. I don't necessarily blame Casper. I think it's the fact that the Union lately have been kind of holding on to the ball and playing around with it instead of just launching the ball, instead of just playing up just Casper's not going to run down it, but he could win an aerial duel. He could settle that ball down and wait for the players to run through him. And that's kind of what he does. I think the conversation that we have to have is our striker depth. I don't think it's necessarily Casper. And Matt DeGeorge put a pretty good point when and I retweeted it, and it said, it's a little early, and I quote, "It's too early to talk for a Union postmortem, but going into the offseason, time for the Union to spend big on a second striker to complement Casper. Marginalize Santos as a sub, move on from Burke, spend $2.5 million on a Rui Diaz type striker." Now, Rui Diaz is literally the prime example of the striker. I have been saying that if Jay is serious about spending money, $2 to $3 million is going to get you a pretty quality striker. Now, listen, I love Sergio, but given his injury history, I think it's better he's a super sub. He can still contribute. I mean, he's great off the bench, a great change of pace forward, someone who, if you need to chase the game or you need to tire out the defense, yeah, throw him in there for 25, 30 minutes. Let him run. Let him have at it. I love Corey, but I just think everything in the last few years, unfortunate with with the visa issues, even this past season, I just he hasn't been the same. And I think at this point he's a quality MLS striker. I think he could definitely find where someone else in the league. I just think it's time to move on. And if Jay Sugarman is serious about this, $2.5 million for a quality complement to Casper, someone who's more of a goal poacher, someone who's willing to do a lot of that dirty work, get in there, run behind the defense, and just be a more direct threat, and let Casper hold the ball up and let him go to the back post. Because when Casper has a quality partner, you've seen when Sergio is on his game, Casper is allowed to do what he wants to do. And and we say, okay, where's that Casper? And it's like, well, he doesn't always have a reliable partner. And I think the conversation really has to be now, where's the money for the striker? I know we reinvested a lot of it in the academy from the McKenzie and Aronson sales, and I get that. But last time I checked, we've spent an average of $2 million so far on Jamiro and Gazdag, and yet we have not spent, I don't think, anywhere more than $750,000 on a striker. I'm sorry,
Poor
but
position in this league, man.
That's not going to win you an MLS Cup in this league.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying this literally the entire season. If you go back in the last decade, $2 to $3 million is about the average cost to get a quality striker that's going to help win you an MLS Cup in this league. And I just think that at this point, I know people are going to rag on Casper, and this is going to be the starting point of let's get Casper out. Let's get Casper out. I don't think this is all on Casper, and I think that's part of the larger problem is our striker core in general. I think we need a shakeup. I think we need to get a quality striker. Have Sergio as a bench option. Have a young guy be able to come. our striker depth is paltry, and I think that's part of the issue you've seen with Corey out, with Sergio out. Like Casper's been asked to do way more than he has in the past, and he's doing way more in parts of his game that, while aren't bad, are things that he shouldn't have to be doing. And I think that's part of the issue is we're asking him to do way more, and there's no one else really complimenting. Like Casper works pretty well in a two-striker system. He needs someone who's going to be willing to take pressure off of him. And look at New England. We talk about New England. If you're the second or third seed, yeah, you're not going to have to see them until probably the Eastern Conference Final. But you look at them; they have Gustavo Bo and Adam Buxa, a striker pairing that both have at least 15 goals. So that's what happens when you spend just a little bit of money and have two complementary strikers that can work off of each other. And with a attacking mid for New England, it's Carlos Heel. For the Union, it would be Daniel Gazdag. Being able to have a perfect triangle like that would instantly vault the Union potentially back into that, that MLS Cup contender. Really, I think, while I think they're definitely a potential contender, I don't think they're they're not by far the favorite at all. Right. But I think with a quality striker like that, I think that could instantly vault them into. And that's the thing. That's really the only thing that is stopping them from being a quality MLS team, is that absolute deadly threat DP striker.
And it's very interesting points you're bringing up. I don't necessarily disagree with your point on Kasper Shibilko. It's interesting because I view Kasper differently. I do think he is a number 9. Like I think he's a pure number 9. Obviously he's not like Harry Kane or Erling Haaland, but kind of in like sort of that mold. Like he can play up top and he's dangerous in the box. The problem is, Justin, is that you have a number 10 that is a more facilitating type of number 10. And when I watch those two play, like sometimes I feel like they're not on the same page. Like how many times do we talk about they're trying to do the give and go type of play in the final third, and they're just like not on the same page. So like that's where like you already paid Gazdag. Like Gazdag's here, and honestly, I'm happy with the future with Gazdag here. And that's where I run into it. Like we talked about before, like, are we running the right system with the players that we have? Like it kind of feels like you got good players, but are they in the right systems? Like, do they even mesh well together? So it is interesting. Obviously, like everyone puts a lot of the blame of the fact that this isn't a lethal attack on Kasper Shibilko. It's not all on him, but it just does seem like at times, I just like. I'm wondering like what's going on, Kasper? Like where you at, dog? Like what's going on? So it's interesting. It's something that we'll obviously keep talking about. We'll be watching it under a microscope during the playoffs as well. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, 2019. Like I felt like if Kasper would have been in that game against Atlanta I felt like we could have won that game. It was what it was, but it's a very interesting microcosm. And like you mentioned with Sergio, that's very unfortunate. If you guys weren't aware, apparently Sergio got another knock after the Toronto. Like the thing is that Sergio didn't even start. He came on in the second half, and then he injures his opposite quad, and that's why we're talking about this now, because yeah, the striker position is a concern because of Sergio's injury concerns, because Kasper's play at times, and because we love Corey, but Corey is Corey. Like he is who he is. It's not like an elite play, but credit to Corey. Like Corey's worked his butt off to get to where he's at. But it is it really is what it is. And we don't want to go too deep into the offseason because we're obviously nowhere near that. But there are some interesting questions with this team because we heard the rumors of El Brujo. You do have Leon Flock here, so like what are you going to do next season with that? Is Jamiro really going to leave this offseason? I would tend to think that he would. Kai Wagner's value, you talk about value getting increased from Ernst Sanders' early signings. That dude's value is at an all-time high right now as well. And there's rumors of Mbaizo, so there's a lot of definite question marks with this team. But getting back to Toronto, it's unfortunate, but they just have to keep you got to keep chipping away. You learn from these mistakes, learn from these situations, and I'm just hoping that the Union take all the trials and tribulations of this past season, the Champions League. That run of play where they were just bad in the summertime. Even even last year's loss to New England, and hopefully that all can equate to some sort of a playoff run going forward, man. But that's where we're at right now, man. We're got 2 more games. We are 2 points away from Nashville. You just listen. You just put Toronto away, and then you just move on. That's pretty much it. Justin, do you have any last points to point out with Toronto, with the the striker situation in general?
No, I mean, I think the striker situation itself, it's a little too early to kind of go on the off the deep end for, talking about off-season moves. Really, nothing gets done until contract options are accepted or declined, and all whether that gets through. Obviously, we won't know until after the seat, probably until early to mid December. I mean, like I said, it was a game that you could have gotten 3 points. You still got a point, which was
Right.
crucial to keeping you in third place. But in the end, you got 2 games left. At this point, you can't really dwell on it. You just gotta keep chugging on to the end of the season.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. Justin, let me ask you, how'd you feel when you saw those New England fans with that damn shield?
You mean the pumpkin? Whatever they, they were showing that pumpkin that they were carving, and that they're doing a whole big thing. The final game, the final. Listen, I have some friends who are New England fans. I don't mind it. They have gotten in general, they've gotten a bit much, and I'm not above being petty and saying that I would not mind if they lost their first game in the playoffs like we did. I am definitely not above being that petty. Congratulations, obviously winning the Shield, but I also hope you lose in the first round of the playoffs after the bye, of course.
If you talk to Bruce, he doesn't care about it. So.
Bruce is also a giant ass hat, so I don't
Seriously,
take too much stock into what he says.
Hey, that dude, you know what? He does win, though. He does win a lot of MLS Cups. But listen, if you're Bruce, you got to understand the state of the New England fan. Number one, they get dogpiled by the rest of the Boston sports, the Red Sox, the Celtics, the Patriots, and the Bruins. No one literally, like, you think it's bad here in Philly with the Union and Philly sports. It's bad up there with the Revs and Boston sports. So the Revs have this kind of like mantra that they're kind of like the Buffalo Bills of the MLS. Like they've been to 5 MLS Cups. They couldn't win them, right? And then they've been mediocre for so long. Bruce Arena finally gets there. It was a slow process, but now they were a really good team. And by the way, slow your horses, people. Like they're nowhere near good. I'm sorry, my opinion. They're nowhere near good as those Atlanta United teams with Miggy and Joseph in their prime. They are nowhere near good as those LA Galaxy teams of the late 2000s, early 2010s, and definitely nowhere near as good as those DC United teams in the beginning of this league. But it's definitely a good team. But it was pretty funny. I had to get your point of view on that one, Justin. But look, guys, we got 2 more matches for this regular season. We will not be bringing on guests because look, we have work to be done on the pitch. We need to get this run or this form right before our playoff run. So what we're going to do, we're just going to look at these matches. And honestly, this upcoming Sunday, Justin, I don't expect much from Cincinnati as we're facing off against Cincinnati this Sunday night. Obviously you never know, but usually the Union at home are a much different team than they are on the road. And it's pretty simple. Like there's not much to break down. There's no tactics to break down, really. Like it's simple. Get the job done. You should take care of this FC Cincinnati team handily. Like it shouldn't be a challenge. I expect the big guns to be out there, and I expect to get 3 points. Like it's seriously that simple. Cincinnati has the wooden spoon, like it's theirs. They gave Nashville a little bit of a scare at home, but obviously we saw what happened. They blew the lead. They lost 5-3. And you got to take care of business here. I don't care what it is. You have to take care of freaking business here. Justin, what I want to start off asking from you is, what do you think the lineup will be? There's some interesting notes from Jim's press conference today. What do you think we could be lining up in this weekend?
For one, I know we talked about it before, but Andre in net, like I think
You think he'll be back? Did Jim mention that?
I thought he was. I'll have to take a look at
I mean, I think we could still win with Freezy, to be honest with you. But
Oh
if
no,
both of them be back,
I don't doubt that either. I'll have to check to see if he's in. I didn't see anything that said he wouldn't be, but if not, like I said, it's that's not really necessarily the concern. Your back line obviously is gonna be the same. Like I really would not be surprised. Depending on I don't think you're going to rotate Finlay in. You could, but I think we know Jim doesn't exactly rotate.
rotate what?
Now I do think that maybe a formation change. I think maybe you go back to the 4-4-2.
Good point.
I think for this, if you want to lock down those 3 points, I think you go back to what works. You have Brujo at the back. I think you'll have Leon and Ali, who both had, I think, pretty good games.
Right.
Yep. And then I think Gazdag up top. I think at this point it's hard to keep him off the field right now.
The guy.
Jim said it. He's been playing really well, and
he has.
I don't blame him. Like it's tough to keep him off the field at this point, and we'll see.
Let me ask you something real quick on Gazdag's point. Do you read into anything about him coming get subbed off a little early for Sergio?
No, I think that's more of a let's test out Sergio, give him 30 minutes. Let's see if he can really run that out. And obviously, we know
he is a Toronto killer, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's great against Toronto, and he scored a goal, but he also got hurt. So we'll see. I think Gazdag up top, and then you have options. According to I'm looking at some of the notes, I don't see anything about Andre, but Corey appears to be he might be fully healthy. He's been training full most of this week. And I think actually if you're going to do it, I think that you might see Casper and Corey up top. And a little bit of maybe some big news. I know we talked about Elsinho, where apparently Elsinho did train today.
What?
Now I don't know if that means he'll be on the bench for Sunday, but that could be good if he's ready for the playoffs. I think he'd be a pretty, even if he hasn't played as much at all this season.
You think he could be a factor for real though?
I think towards the end, if you really need that spark, yeah. I mean, he's still
okay.
He's never been pacey, but what he does have still is that initial burst once he gets by the defender and making that cross. Like he's still got that, and I think if you still want to give him some time, yeah, I think you could. But everyone asked, "Oh, what about Davo?" Listen, reading between the lines with Jim's press conference, Davo ain't playing. Like at this point, it's just like he's just saying a lot of different ways of saying there's people ahead of Davo. He ain't playing. Like
just retire. Just retire the number 7 shirt. Just put it up in the rafters, Brian Carroll, and call it a day.
Yeah, at this point, it's just like let's end that conversation. All right, Davo's done. He's going back at the end of the season. It's done. It's over.
Damn, man, that sucks. That sucks for him. I do follow him on Instagram. It seems like he's enjoying his time in the United States, and definitely it's definitely unfortunate. Like I look, Jim, obviously he's the gaffer. Is that what they say in England? He's the gaffer, right? Obviously at this point you can't really criticize him too much. I mean, he's got a nice little track record, but it just like kind of sucks because we really didn't see him too much. We saw him for a couple minutes against New England during the World Cup qualification period at home, and we saw some pace, we saw some things, but Jim doesn't think he's good enough to even get on the 18, and that's a problem, and that's kind of telling. You know what I mean? To your Elsinio point, I would love to see Elsinio on Sunday because I don't know how much of I personally don't know how much of an effect that he can be at this point of his career. But look, I'll never forget those moments. You know, even 2019 was like pinnacle, like Elsinio, like all those matches. He comes out in the second half, and it's like you know what's coming, and teams would double team him, throw two defenders at him, and still whoop whoop. He's like,
Couldn't stop it, can't stop, won't stop. Elsinio, that was
that
the
was so
human
fun.
the human cheat code. That was some
The
crazy.
Red Bull match in the regular season at home,
Oh
dude. We
my
were
god,
down 2-0.
I still talk about that game that you're down 2-0 in early June, and Elsinio comes on very early. It was like 60th minute, and it was like 65th minute goal, 67th minute assist, 70th minute goal, and it was like bing bang
Yeah,
boom, and
man.
everyone was just like, "What just happened?" Like within 10 minutes, Elsinio has literally taken this game over, and yeah, man, those are like I said, still some quality memories. Obviously, this year has been very very hard on him, unfortunately, with injuries. It's just
It's old, man.
the nature of time. 36 in soccer is
I thought it was 34. Yikes.
36. Yeah, man.
Man, man.
In soccer, that's getting a bit up there. Um, Especially for a player of his caliber. Uh, it wouldn't surprise me if he ends after this season, or maybe I don't know, maybe he stays in the area and becomes a coach like Fred and Fabinho and Cleverson. Like it seems like he likes the area.
I heard
So
that him and Ben Simmons are starting a esports team.
yeah, and Jay Ajayi.
Oh, good stuff there. Hopefully we see Elsinio. I listen. I agree. I do want to get back to the 442 diamond. The Christmas tree was fun. Obviously, your clip on the last episode with the Phillies, that was fun as well. But let's get back to what we know. Let's get back to the formation that we're going to be running in the playoffs. So I agree. Stick to that 442 diamond. Look, if Blake is ready, obviously you're going to run with Andre. Like there's no questions about that. Permanent marker all day. But I really just want to see the Union just impose their will. Like if you can win 4-0, win 4-0. I want them to start gaining that momentum going into the playoffs. And we'll talk about NYCFC next week, but these two matches, man, I don't care what it is. Go out there, give it your all, get that momentum going for the playoffs. That's really it, man. What do you see happening here this upcoming Sunday?
I know this may fall into a trap game. I think after midweek, I don't think this could be a trap. I think Jim's
They
just
should be
saying,
pissed off, man.
yeah, especially after the way it ended. You just
Right.
gotta go. You know what? Like fuck this. We need
Yeah.
to win. And I know Cincinnati's gonna give their hardest, but it's a home game. Away, I was a little more hesitant. Home, nah, 3-1. I think it's a comprehensive victory. I think Cincinnati gets a late, and just because he did it, I think Harris gets that solo goal.
Oh my God,
It
that's right. He's
just
coming back.
it would be again. It felt like destiny that he did it in the away game.
Right.
At this point, I just convinced he's just going to do it just to kind of have it come full circle.
Right.
I'm not worried, and I think that at this point you need to win Sunday, and then at NYCFC, I think it'd be nice to get a point. Yankee Stadium has always been kind of difficult, but at least focus on this Sunday and getting those 3
We've never
points.
won there. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, dude, absolutely, man. That is definitely rough. Yeah, I expect at minimum a 2-goal win, whether it be 2-0, 3-1. I expect that to be the score line there for the Union. Like you said, I think this is one of those weekends where Jim goes, you want to be good, you want to be great. Great teams put this team away right in the first half, and then just keep that foot on the gas pedal. That's something we criticize them on the midweek. You're at home, place gonna be rocking. It's gonna be Halloween night. You know, we'll see some interesting. I'm curious about some of these. I'm hearing some people are gonna show up in costumes. Curious to see what people are gonna be coming up in. But no, in all seriousness, like you put them away, punch your playoff ticket, and let's keep our eyes at the end of the tunnel, man. Let's keep it moving here, in these final 2 weeks there, man. Justin, you gonna be dressing up at the zoo?
I don't know. I haven't. I have a few costumes in my closet.
Okay.
I could break out. If I really wanted to, I still have a few the onesies costumes that I have. One might be a little big, but it could be tempting. Sticks tune in if you're there Sunday. Uh, that'll be the question, the lingering mystery. Will Justin wear a onesie to the game?
Honestly,
We'll
it sounds
find
kind of
out.
comfortable.
Yeah, we'll find out if it's cold enough. I'll wear it.
Yeah, that's another thing, guys. And keep in mind, please make sure you are dressed warm. We're not in summertime anymore. It's getting cold at the Sub. We're at the riverfront there, so
It's
make sure
spooky season.
it is spooky season. It's gonna be a night game. Make sure you guys are dressed warm. I always tell the story that first year of El Parcero Philly, first two home matches, showed up against Toronto. I literally went there in an Under Armour and a Union hoodie. And I don't know if you remember that match on 2019. It was the season opener, home opener against Toronto. It was cold. It was a cold Saturday afternoon in March. And my dumbass decided an Under Armour and a hoodie was good enough. And then my second match against Columbus, I had to take off my Columbia jersey because we were facing off against Columbus in the Rivers End. So I had to wear just a t-shirt and an Under Armour shirt. So
Yeah, it's
please
gonna
dress
be
warm.
48 Sunday night. So
Yes,
dress warm, everybody.
that means jacket and maybe scarf for me, but I'm definitely dressing warm, and you guys should as well. I wanted to give a quick highlight to the Union. They opened they announced the esports hub. It's somewhere in. I'll have to figure. I don't know exactly where it's in the soup. I'll have to figure that out. But it looks pretty damn cool, and obviously the Union are capitalizing on this whole esports game. They advertised it with Alejandro Bedoya, and Boston Scott has been showing a lot of love to the Union. Man, this is the second time now he's been working with the Union, as he helped unveil the esports hub. It looked like Allie and Boston were playing like Mario Kart or something. I can't keep up with these games these days, man. I'm give me some FIFA or Madden, and I'm content for a couple of hours, man. But Justin, I mean, just thoughts on like the Uni capitalizing on this and kind of like the whole trend of esports in general.
I mean, I'm not much on that. I have not been much
Same.
on video games, and
We might have to get Adam Booth to break it down for us.
yeah, I was gonna say, where's Sir Adam when you need someone to talk about esports? No, listen, it's nice to see that they're understanding that it's a big, you know, emerging market. It's been nice to see Boston Scott being a consistent,
Love that
supporter
dude,
of
man.
the team. You always see the players, some of the other teams' players showing up once in a jersey and then never basically doing with soccer again. Boston Scott's
Joel
been
Embiid.
yeah, like Boston Scott's been pretty consistent in terms of his support for the team. So I love it, and I'd love to see more of it, to be honest.
I agree, man. I agree. Listen, I'm with you. I don't really get it personally. I'm not one to like shun it. Like obviously, the Fusion are about to get their stadium soon in South Philly. I'm not one to shun the Fusion. I do realize that in 10 years, as a Philly sports content creator that I am, like I might have to cover the Fusion, and that we can't just like ignore it. We have to just embrace it. And it's nothing wrong with video games. We've all played video games once in our lifetime. It's bigger now. It's a bigger entity, man. It's all it is. It's all it is.
As the I joke, Laura poet Ilya Brizgalov once said, "It's humongous big, man."
that's how we cap this podcast with an Ilya Brizgalov cap. Man, you can't get this anywhere else, man. You need soccer and that dummy Ilya Brizgalov. We literally paid him for like 8 years. That's freaking
Oh,
after
we're still
we
paying
let him
him.
go.
We're still paying him.
Yeah. It's freaking ridiculous. Freaking ridiculous. Before I let you go, man, your top three candy bars in light of Halloween trick or treating.
Number 3, I'm gonna go with Snickers. I
Okay.
think Snickers are quality. Number
I agree.
2, I'm gonna go with Three Musketeers. I
Justin, you
think
love Three Musketeers?
I
Dude,
think
that
they
was
are, I think they are supremely underrated.
dude, I agree with you
Uh,
so much, man.
I love it's honestly one of my top candies. And number 1, I know it's not a candy bar, but it is probably my favorite candy, a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Done.
I love Reese's peanut butter
They're
cups.
great.
I'm not much for sweets, but something about chocolate and peanut butter, man. It's why I love, and like in the winter, a family friend of ours makes Buckeyes, which
Okay.
are like essentially similar to that. It's peanut butter, like confectionery sugar, frozen and then covered in chocolate.
Ooh.
And that's why like I love all things chocolate and peanut butter. And Reese's cups, man, are just like you freeze them, man. Oh my! Or you freeze any of those candies I described, they're absolutely amazing. They're perfect. It's a winning combination right there.
Chocolate and peanut butter. It's like Jack Ellie and Jakob Glasses, man. It's a great combination.
Exactly.
Great combination. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Dupe by the River. Justin, I will see you Sunday night at the Soup. Hopefully, the Union have us cheering and smiling as we're drunk and happy on Halloween, my man. I will see.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe
Yes,
and
yes.
bring your A game and maybe a costume to Sunday. Spooky
Maybe.
season, folks.
Spooky season. I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of Dupe by the River. Quick reminder, guys. This will always be broadcast on El Parcero Phillies YouTube channel, and this will also be on PSN as well. So make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe. And of course, you can listen to this at any time you want. This will be on PSN Radio, and you can find that wherever you stream podcasts from Apple, Google, and Spotify. You can find all of your favorite Philly Sports Network podcasts on there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Justin. Back that money truck up, Jay Friedberg. I go by the name of El Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys to dupe on. Enjoy your weekend, and let's beat Cincinnati.